while.
Wow. So, what have you been up to lately?
Just the usual. I let my pet snake out into the wild earlier this morning, and I was on my way to go shoot up some animals, and I burned down the forest, the one that's like...
The forest?
Yeah, that one that's... You can kind of see the smoke over there. Yeah, that one. What about you? What are you up to?
Well, before we get to me, let me first talk to you about this, what you're doing. So, I don't want to encroach on what you're doing. I really respect it.
Oh, thanks.
But, you see, that can really impact the environment. So, like, the pollution, the burning of everything, destroying habitats, just think about it. Think about what you are doing and how it can affect the world as a whole.
To start out, you're doing deforestation. That is when you are cutting down trees and not even replanting them. By cutting down these trees, you're also taking away our oxygen. Since trees perform photosynthesis to remove carbon dioxide from our atmosphere, you're just putting it back into the atmosphere. What's more is that you're also destroying a bunch of ecosystems along with it. A bunch of animals can rely on those trees, and when you get rid of those trees, you get rid of those animals. And those animals, when gotten rid of, they can have profound effects on the rest of the food chain and food web in general. Now I know that your pet snake might have gone at it a bit much to handle, but you still should never release non-native species into the wild, because when they are invasive species, they can deplete all of the resources that the native species do need. And with that extra competition, that can disrupt an ecosystem, and the food web can be disrupted. If you've ever heard of the Burmese python of Florida, or even the Asian carp in the Mississippi River, you know that these non-native species have changed the ecosystem and have killed so many animals because of someone's mistakes. You are not necessarily doing what the factories around us are doing, but you still need to know about it. They are burning fossil fuels, which releases so much carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, just to make energy and such for products. That pollutes the air, which can harm many organisms. Moreover, the CO2 emissions trap heat, creating the greenhouse effect, which leads to global warming and climate change. All of the extra gases in the air, like nitrogen and sulfur, can lead to acid rain, which harms humans and fish and all sorts of things. Finally, I remember you telling me that you owned a hog farm a while back, so I'm sure that you did contribute to waste lagoons. So when you add all the manure to that water, that can be very harmful with all the nitrogen buildup, especially when it overflows from a hurricane or just a really bad storm. So when it does overflow and it gets into our own drinking water, that can make us sick. Or if it gets into other ponds and lakes, then that can create algal blooms, which would mean that all the other fish would suffocate and die from lack of oxygen. That would be from eutrophication. I'm sure you're also planting crops on that farm of yours. However, when you're using pesticides to ward off all the bugs and such, it will run off when it rains on a slope down to the nearest body of water. And when there's fish living in it that will somehow ingest all the pesticides, that leads to bioaccumulation. And that just means that all the pesticides will build up in each organism as it moves up the food chain, which can be very dangerous.
Oh, well, now I kind of feel bad.
Well, yeah.
What should I do?
Well, there is something you can do to help. So there's this thing called conservation and stewardship. Have you heard of it?
No, don't think so. What's that?
Let me tell you about it.
Conservation is when natural resources are protected for their conditions to not worsen. So an example would be to protect wildlife and land from pollution or pick up plastic from beaches. Another really easy way is to just recycle. Stewardship creates a plan for the future. So the Raleigh Zoo has using fryer oil as fuel for their trams. Another really amazing way that stewardship has been put into place was introducing wolves into the Yellowstone National Park, which really helped out the rest of the ecosystem.
Wow, I'm really glad you told me about this. I think I'm going to stop burning forests from now on.
I'm glad my words had an effect on you.
What can you do to help the environment?